Mic check. 1, 2. Are we recording? Hi, I'm Michelle Bernstein, an award-winning chef, restaurateur, and mom. I have a lot on my plate, including my psoriatic arthritis symptoms. That's why I was prescribed Cosentyx. It helps me move better.
Cosentyx secukinumab is prescribed for people 2 years of age and older with active psoriatic arthritis. Don't use if you're allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting, get checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur, like tuberculosis or other serious bacterial, fungal, or viral infections. Some were fatal. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms like fevers, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, had a vaccine or plan to, or if inflammatory bowel disease symptoms develop or worsen. Serious allergic reactions and severe eczema-like skin reactions may occur. Learn more at 1-844-COSENTYX or Cosentyx.com.
Ask your rheumatologist about Cosentyx.
Richard Nixon.
Well, I'm not a crook.
Ronald Reagan.
Tear down this wall.
George W. Bush.
I can hear you. The rest of the world hears you.
And Donald Trump.
And a friend of mine for a long time, he only likes politics. If you ask him about how are the Yankees doing, he has no interest. If you ask him almost anything, he likes politics, and he's a professional at the highest level. Roger Stone.
All of these presidents relied on one man to secure their seat in the Oval Office. That man is Roger Stone. This is The Roger Stone Show on 77 WABC.
Welcome back. I'm Roger Stone, and this is The Roger Stone Show on 77 WABC. Joining me now is Garrett Ziegler. He is the head of the Marco Polo USA organization, which is a non-profit organization that has dedicated itself to educating the American public about the contents of Hunter Biden's laptop, as well as the egregious evidence of many, many crimes and corruption therein. I invited Garrett Ziegler back on the show this week because now he is being sued by Hunter Biden's high-priced attorneys in an obvious attempt to silence him. I'm not a lawyer, but based on what I've read, their lawsuit is without merit. This is, in essence, just another effort to silence a would-be whistleblower. Garrett Ziegler of Marco Polo USA joins us in the Roger Stone Show now.
Good morning. I appreciate this. And, the lawsuit was filed in federal court by Hunter last Wednesday. And like you said, it's not worth the paper it's written on. And the person behind it, along with Kevin Morris, the bong hitter, the funder, is Abby Lowell, who's been in this game since the 90s, at least, with Slick Willie. And, we're facing basically Joe through proxies. There's no way that Joe, if not directing this, is at least not approving each and every one of these steps. So we're really getting sued by the U.S. president in office through other people.
Let's set the table here properly. So, Garrett, tell us what Marco Polo USA is, and tell us what your mission is and what you have done.
Yes. So Marco Polo is a small 501c3 with a budget of about $250,000. Very small compared to Heritage and other quasi think tanks, okay? And it's basically me and a group of guys, 2 private investigators, an attorney, an accountant, and digital forensics folks. And we went through the laptop like a group of PIs would. We basically took the tools and methods of private investigative work to this abandoned device. And it's insane because there's over 200 gigabytes, and we did it methodically. So I personally, Roger, went through all 128,000 emails. It took me over a year. And then the private investigators took all the contacts on Hunter's device, over 4,000 in his contact application and ran them all through background reports. And so what we were able to do with that is get a link analysis of their LLCs and their basically corporate connections, and from there we would dig further. So we did it very methodically. The reason why they included John Doe's 1 through 10, Roger, is because they want to identify docs and try to get fired each and every person that worked with me. So they know that they can't really cancel me yet because we have such a sort of grassroots donor base. But everybody that helped me with this, the private investigators, the attorney, they want to then unmask them and then go to their associates or clients and say, hey, you're working with an enemy of the state, and Joey declares who is an enemy of the state. If you don't lay off, we'll try to basically economically blackmail you. It's disgusting. It's par for the course with Abby Lowell, because Abby Lowell is a disgusting human being and a liar. But that's really the state of play. It's a small C3. I'm based here in Illinois. Everybody else is across the country. And we're taking this device like the insane digital artifact that it is. I mean, we'll never have this much primary source data on a sitting U.S. president again. We'll never have it again. It's unprecedented. The scope of the data from text message. It was basically his entire digital life.
So for those of you who are not familiar, let me urge you to go to the website marcopolousa.org, where you can actually download the report on the Biden laptop, or you can order a bound copy, which Garrett and his colleagues will send to you for a nominal price. This is not as X-rated as you might think, because Garrett and his colleagues have thoughtfully blurred out the more shocking and indeed pornographic aspects of this report. But based on your own assessment, Garrett, how many crimes or evidence of crimes and what kind of crimes did you identify in this report?
Yes. So after going, and I should have included this in my answer. I just realized that was an incomplete answer. I apologize. After going through all of that data, we published a comprehensive report about it. And the goal was to put out a report that a subcommittee of the U.S. Congress would put out. That was the goal. In terms of length, the format, it was completely torn apart by editors. I had about 80 different people, English PhDs, professors. We basically have had, very, very few even grammatical errors, let alone factual errors. In fact, we have a bounty for $1,000 for anybody who can find a material error. Not one leftist has come up with that $1,000. But basically, the process for writing this was we went through the device, matched up the criminal code, and not just the U.S. federal criminal code, but the state codes. So the number, to answer your question directly, is 459. That is the number of state and federal laws and regulations that have been violated by Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, or their associates. 459. That's primary source evidence. That's not conjecture or speculation. There are many that we left out because we didn't have enough to be able to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. We've used the criminal standard, not the civil litigation standard of preponderance of the evidence. Every single time we say Hunter committed a crime, and those crimes, to answer your second question, run the gamut from Foreign Agent Registration Act violations to money laundering to solicitation to sex trafficking a couple of times, not of underage women, but of just barely over the legal limit. Girls younger than his daughter, actually, his oldest daughter, Naomi. And so we have a first family that's in total disarray. The communication stored on the device prove that Joey is, again, not my opinion, but born through the facts, a patriarch of a family of drunks and drug addicts. We're talking about a family that could have a show on TLC, Roger. I mean, it's that bad. From drugs, from, Hunter Biden slept with and basically dated his brother's widow. And this isn't some Old Testament thing where the widow didn't have children. She had 2 kids of her own, and there's a backstory with one of them, too.
You want to go ahead and tell us that backstory?
Well, I didn't know if you. So it's in the report. We go through how the mother, so Joey's daughter-in-law, the widow of Hunter's brother, Hallie Biden, accused Hunter over a period of months of being sexually inappropriate with her 13-year-old daughter. And the crime that we have them on, because we can't prove that Hunter did this, we can prove he was accused of it by his own family members, is mandated reporter violations. Beau Biden, when he was the Attorney General of Delaware, actually pressed for and succeeded in passing a state law that requires people who hear of sexual abuse of a child to report it to the authorities. And Joe and Jill and Jimmy Biden and Hunter and Ashley all heard of these allegations and didn't report them to the authorities in direct contravention to their deceased son's work. So it's the height of irony, and the exact allegations were that Hunter was walking around naked, smoking crack cocaine, and FaceTiming prostitutes in front of his 13-year-old niece. Again, those aren't my allegations. Those are the allegations of Hallie Biden.
This podcast is supported by Progressive, a leader in RV insurance. RVs are for sharing adventures with family, friends, and even your pets. So if you bring your cats and dogs along for the ride, you'll want Progressive RV insurance. They protect your cats and dogs like family by offering up to $1,000 in optional coverage for vet bills in case of an RV accident, making it a great companion for the responsible pet owner who loves to travel. See Progressive's other benefits and more when you quote RV insurance at Progressive.com today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Pet injury is an additional coverage and subject to policy terms.
Plan on flying? It's time to upgrade to a Real ID. Because in order to board domestic flights, your driver's license or state-issued ID must be a Real ID, or you'll need another acceptable form of identification. So don't wait. Find out how to get your Real ID at tsa.gov/RealID. That's tsa.gov/RealID, or visit your local DMV. And then you'll be cleared for takeoff.
So I think anyone who has followed this closely understands that the prosecutors in Delaware, David Weiss, who is constantly falsely identified as a Trump appointee, when in fact he is an Obama administration holdover who remained in the U.S. Attorney's job only because he's the only individual that the 2 Democrat U.S. senators from Delaware would give a so-called blue slip to, the only one they would agree could be moved forward for Senate confirmation. So Mr. Weiss is not a Trump appointee, he's a Trump holdover, and that it's very clear that he worked closely with Hunter Biden's attorneys and an assistant of his, Leslie Wolf, to fashion a plea bargain agreement that blew up in midair only weeks ago, where Hunter Biden was to plead guilty to 2 relatively minor tax charges and a charge of lying on forms to purchase a federal firearm. Now, this has created a spate of stories on the social media by bots who claim falsely that Roger Stone walked out on millions of taxes, got a sweetheart deal from the IRS, but poor Hunter Biden is being held to account. So I have to take this opportunity to extinguish that lie. My wife and I do owe taxes from the year 2006, and we were in negotiations with the U.S. Justice Department after my pardon to try to reach some settlement on that matter. But when those taxes were about to expire under the law, without any notice to us, the IRS and the Biden Justice Department filed a civil suit against us. There is no sustained allegation that we failed to report a single penny. There's no allegation that we failed to report a single asset. And the claim by many on social media that we are guilty of tax evasion is an egregious lie. What is outrageous is that with penalty and interest, a tax bill of less than $500,000 that I had made payments on every month for 8 years without making a single late payment or ever missing a payment has ballooned into a tax debt of $2 million when you add penalties and interest. And the IRS will not give me any break in negotiation on penalties and interest, which normally they would do in any situation where tax debt is this old and the taxpayer is struggling to pay it. So I will have to pay every penny. I received no sweetheart deal. It is an egregious smear, but it comes up every time somebody mentions the fact that Hunter Biden failed to declare almost $10 million in illicitly gained income.
Yes.
Quite different from my situation, in which I legally declared, my wife and I, every single penny which we honestly earned.
So the scale is even completely different, let alone all the lies. Even if their lies were true, it's not even comparable. And you can be sure, and you don't even tell you this, but that's coming directly from Joey. I bet that order came directly from Joey to the IRS about you.
Well, let us move on. Now, a number of whistleblowers have come forward at great peril to themselves and their families to say that the Justice Department and Mr. Weiss, who has now been named in violation of the Department of Justice's requirements for a special counsel, as a special counsel. I think that's window dressing, or perhaps it's the trap door, because if Hunter Biden is ultimately convicted of any crime and prosecuted by Mr. Weiss, well, that prosecution would be defective based on the fact that Mr. Weiss's appointment as special counsel is legally and regulatorily improper. So I think they did it on purpose. But I noticed yesterday that one of my old favorites, Congressman Jerry Nadler, took to the floor, or actually, I guess, speaking in a hearing, saying that everything that these whistleblowers have said has been thoroughly and completely debunked. That higher ups at the Justice Department and the IRS, who are risking nothing, by the way, have come forward to contradict those brave individuals who immediately lost their livelihood, lost their paycheck, lost their insurance, lost their financial security, to come forward and tell the truth. And then only yesterday, in the wake of the claims by Congressman Nadler, a third IRS official has come forward to say that the Justice Department blocked Mr. Weiss from charging Hunter Biden in any forum at all. That IRS Director of Fields Operation, Michael Bartdorf, told the House Ways and Means Committee yesterday in closed-door interview that he was frustrated by the refusal of the Justice Department to approve tax charges against Hunter Biden. What do you make of all this, Garrett?
I think that it is a brouhaha of epic proportions, and I think it all goes to the fact that nobody beyond these whistleblowers, who are protected, by the way, by statute. Abby Lowell lies like you and I breathe, and one of his most common lies is that these whistleblowers are disclosing confidential information. Abby Lowell needs to take remedial courses on the whistleblower statute. Any whistleblower can come to Congress and make protected disclosures. That's exactly what they're doing. And what do I make of Batdorf specifically? I think that this is a fluid situation where no one wants to take the fall for the entire fiasco. And so we're going to have competing accounts precisely because a lot of these feds love their pension more than anything, unlike the congressionally sanctioned whistleblowers. And so I don't know who to believe right now in terms of the officials on the investigation. Here's what I do know. We went through the first two release transcripts in June from Shapley and Joseph Ziegler, no relation to me, by the way. And we made a Facebook, we looked up each and every person named in this transcript, and we put it out on our Substack page. And you can go to Marco Polo 501c3.substack and look at this. Basically, it's a dope chart. We pride ourselves on finding information on these dirty feds because, very simply, if you do not have the slightest clue who is doing the miscarriage of justice, you can't really seek redress for your grievances, which is, as you know, the last clause in our First Amendment. So I think that we're going to keep putting out who exactly is involved in this. And by the end, by the time Weiss actually brings an indictment for the taxes, which hopefully will include felonies, my God, instead of these misdemeanors, like you said earlier, that botched plea deal, we will have a good idea of who precisely were the sinners here. And we'll have it broken down by agency. So we got the IRS done. We'll have the FBI. Then we'll do the U.S. Attorney's Office in Delaware. Then the tax division at the DOJ. I'm sure those names will include people who have targeted you, as you were talking about, Roger. So we'll stay on it. The reason why they're filing suit against me is because I've really been a dog on a bone like this on this story. I haven't let up, and we're making a real impact because we're not putting out fake stuff. Everything that we put out is totally vetted, and Hunter hates us for it. And he hates us because he's had no introspection. After all of this, Roger, he still hasn't had any remorse. I mean, he can't even go out in public and say, you know what, I screwed up. He hasn't taken any remorse for anything. His only instinct is to lash out at us. I have no malice towards Hunter Biden. I think he's corrupt as hell, but I have no inner malice towards him. I'm just telling the truth. I don't want to accuse him of anything he didn't do. And the fact of the matter is that he and his father ran a global FARA-violating and money laundering scheme under the table while his dad was a sitting vice president.
Folks, if you're just tuning in, this is the Roger Stone Show on 77 WABC Radio, and we are interviewing Garrett Ziegler, who is the head of the Marco Polo USA organization. You can find them at marcopolousa.org. They are in an epic legal battle, so if you want to make a contribution there, it would be most welcome. Lawyers are extraordinarily expensive, but I know Garrett Ziegler to be a fighter for the truth, but this is a fighter who needs our help. While you're there, you can download this incredible body of work in the report on Hunter Biden's laptop. You can also order a bound version if that's more convenient for you. Your printer's going to need a lot of paper if you're going to download this. But I want to go back to Garrett Ziegler in the time that we have left. Garrett, what have you thought of the House Republicans' efforts to get to the bottom of the abuses and the violations by the Bidens, specifically Congressman James Comer, Congressman Jim Jordan? What do you think of the pace and scope of their investigations?
The pace hasn't been terrible. The scope has been not specific enough. Those men that you mentioned, Comer and Jordan, have actually been outdone by somebody who I didn't think would be relevant at all, which is Jason Smith. Jason Smith, Ways and Means Chairman, has been a pleasant surprise in all of this. He's the one who's actually released the transcripts of those whistleblowers, put it up for a vote, and actually did it. So I've been not totally sad, I should say. I've not been totally sad about their pace and scope, but it's not. Let's put it this way: they haven't been killers about it all. They should have subpoenaed Hunter and Joey back in April. Comer, as a reason for not doing that, said that he didn't want to get into litigation. And my response is, you have government-paid staffers to do this. It's not like you're going to have to pay Latham and Watkins by the hour to adjudicate these subpoenas. If Hunter and Joey want to object, let them object. Have your committee staff fight it in court. It doesn't cost you anything. And we could have maybe even gotten Joey's bank accounts by now. And we know the exact things that they need to subpoena, Roger. We put the phone number of Joey's burner iPhone that Hunter's business, Rosemont Seneca, paid for. That subpoena should have been issued to AT&T back in April. And now it's September 22nd, officially fall, last day of summer yesterday. So now it's officially fall, and we still don't have the subpoena records for that cell phone. So I've been peppering them. They sort of treat me like a dog would treat a cat. They like the information that I give them, but they know that I'm not a solid, let's put it this way, I'm not a solid Republican. I'm not in their camp. I'm sort of a watchdog on everybody, and so they sort of treat me at arm's length. Not all the members. I really like Ron Johnson in the Senate. I actually wouldn't be sad at all if Johnson became the VP candidate under DJT. But I think a lot of these congressmen are leaf eaters, and we really need carnivores right now because the lying and the lawfare is disgusting, and the crops are so rich. I mean, Joey's listed on some of these SARs. We have 5 SARs, suspicious activity reports from J.P. Morgan. They name the U.S. president. It's insane.
I'm sure that you were tuned in for the congressional testimony of Attorney General Merrick Garland. You
Yes.
also probably have better grounding on the background of that testimony than anyone. What was your assessment?
Before I get into Garland's lying, there was a comment, I can't remember, I think it's Jeff Van Drew made it, and I feel it deeply, which is a lot of Americans are scared of their own Justice Department. I know I have fear, not a lot, but I would be lying if I said I didn't have any fear, that I'm going to get raided for nothing. Now, I don't need to tell you about an unjustified raid, my God, but I'm fearful that when this lawfare doesn't work, and it's not going to work because I'm not an idiot, and my group that I've assembled, I have a lot of oversight. All the board members of Marco Polo are my father's age. So I have a lot of oversight. I have a lot of help, and we're not going to make dumb decisions in terms of litigation strategy and everything. So when this lawfare fails, their only recourse, their only step is just going to institute a raid on me and try to indict me for something stupid and then draw attention to that, say, hey, this Garrett guy's a criminal. So I'm terrified of the Justice Department at times. And Merrick Garland he lies so effortlessly. He plays dumb. He thinks he says he has no idea that the Americans are feeling this way. Millions of people think he's corrupt. Why? You asked me about the House members. Why they haven't started impeachment on Garland first? I agree that Joey took a bribe for firing Shokin, and he needs to be impeached. But nevertheless, why not start on Garland first, right? He's so terrible. He lies about so many things, from the anti-Catholic memos to
how many federal agents were at the Capitol on January 6th? There's yet another.
No.
He has no idea, none whatsoever. He's not even sure there were any, based on the clip I saw.
Yes, and I think that the Republicans do mostly very well in the hearings. What I want is for those articulate speeches to translate into an actual impeachment. Eric Holder was held in contempt. Unlike my former boss, he wasn't charged for that congressional contempt. But it's much more than just contempt. We really need to impeach Garland. I'm not saying that the next guy is going to be any better, but I'm saying justice requires this absolute tyrant piece of crap to get impeached.
Well, not one to mince words. We're about at the end. I have one more quick question for you before we have to go. You mentioned when we were talking before that Senator Bob Menendez, back in the headlines, reportedly receiving over $400,000 in gold bars worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Beyond belief. Absolutely beyond belief.
Menendez, I think, like we mentioned, is perhaps the most corrupt senator, and that's hard to do considering Mitch McConnell's sister-in-law is on the board of the Bank of China, literally. And you know who represented Menendez in his previous federal indictment is Abby Lowell. So Abby Lowell has represented Gary Condit, Slick Willie, Bob Menendez, John Edwards, and now Hunter Biden. So if the public is watching, here's a good heuristic. Locate Abby Lowell in American life, and there will be corrupt actors around him. He's sort of like a GPS tracker for sinful and corrupt and illegal activity. Abby Lowell will be there. And so we'll see if Menendez calls his old pal who got him out of the clink the first time, and Abby Lowell's probably going to tell him, hey, look, Kevin Morris has deeper pockets than your donors. I'm sorry, but you're on your own this time, Bobby.
All right. That's unfortunately, we are out of time. I want to thank Garrett Ziegler of the Marco Polo USA organization. Again, you can find him at marcopoulousa.org, where I urge you to send a generous contribution if you're a believer in the truth, or to order your very own copy of his comprehensive and impressive report on Hunter Biden's laptop. Garrett Ziegler, thank you so much for joining us on The Roger Stone Show.